Hello, clarinets and altos and tenors. So, what we're going to talk about today is our proper embouchure and our proper setting of reeds. So, first you need your reed, and your reed needs to be completely wet. All right. So, this is a clarinet reed, so it's going to fit pretty easily in my mouth, whole thing. Okay. If I was using a tenor saxophone reed or an alto saxophone reed and I can't get the whole thing in my mouth, don't shove it down your mouth and choke yourself, okay? Even if you can't fit a clarinet mouth reed in your mouth, you can try this as well. Maybe you just don't want to. That's fine, okay? Do the first half. So put in this half. Make sure it's wet, and you'll be able to see a line on your instrument or on the reed for where it's wet and where it's dry, and then flip it around and put this half in. Make sure it's good and wet. It's probably going to take you longer. I've already had this wet a little bit today, so it didn't take me very long to get it fully wet. Now, next thing you need, your mouthpiece. So I'm going to take the reed and I'm going to put it on my mouthpiece. Now, if it's fully wet, correct, it should not fall off of the mouthpiece. It should be able to stick there completely by itself. All right. The reason that we want it to do this is because it's creating a better seal against the mouthpiece, which is going to create a better sound when we actually start playing. Okay. Now, placement of the reed. Number one, you want to make sure that it is centered on the mouthpiece. And you want to make sure that there is just a tiny sliver of black, like the end of the mouthpiece, above the reed. If you can see that, there's just that tiny itty bitty thin piece of black that's above the reed. You almost can't see it because it should be the thickness of your nail. Okay, so if it's a nail thickness, perfect, great. Now I can put my ligature on. Now be careful when you put your ligature on not to hit the end of the reed. All right. Now a lot of you have some lovely ligatures that have lines, or your mouthpieces have lines on them. Make sure that if there's a line at the bottom, that is where your ligature stops. That's the bottom of the ligature. If there's a line on top and bottom, then you put the ligature in between that. If like this one, you don't have any lines, you want to put it in the center of this part. So the part where you don't put your teeth. So in the center of that is where you want to put that. And then you want to go ahead and tighten it until you feel a good amount of like a little bit of resistance. Okay, so I felt just a little resistance, and then it turned and stopped. Okay, you don't have to crank down on it. If you crank down too hard, it's going to make it so that the reed can't vibrate. You're going to get a bad sound. If you don't crank down hard enough, then this is going to be able to really easily, like I'm not pulling very hard, but it's not moving. Okay, we don't want the ligature to be able to move around. All right, we have our reed on our mouthpiece and it is fully wet. So what we need to do now is we need to roll our bottom lip over top of our teeth. Okay, we need to take our teeth and we need to put it on the top of the mouthpiece. This one does not have a tooth guard. If you need a tooth guard, let me know. You can, and you have to let me know ahead of time, but I can have them out and ready to go at the instrument drive-through for you. I won't charge you for a tooth guard. Don't worry about it. Okay. For clarinets, remember a 45-degree angle right here. For saxophones, it's going to be a little bit more straight on, not perfectly straight on, but a little more straight on and angled slightly, just like this. Okay. All right. That's the angle you're going for. And when you play into it, you want to make sure that your corners are firm so there's no air escaping. And you want to make sure that you get a clear sound. If it's airy at all, your reed may be um, positioned incorrectly, left and right, or it may be too high or too low. So make sure you adjust that reed. Or finally, if your reed is dry, okay, you'll be able to tell if it's wet or dry or not. All right, and then you get a good sound. Now, when you're done with your reed, you need to make sure that you take it off of the mouthpiece. If you don't take it off of the mouthpiece, what's going to happen is you're taking all that moisture from when you played and you're trapping it inside of the mouthpiece. So if you see this, this is completely black, all right? If you have a bunch of white spots in there, then you need to take some water and you need to rinse it out and you need to wipe that off. If you're a clarinet player, don't get this cork soaking wet, okay? So keep that out of the water as much as possible. But you need to get that white stuff out because what you're doing is you're growing things inside of your mouthpiece, which is really gross. Don't scratch at it with like with anything hard or abrasive because you're going to scratch the mouthpiece and you don't want that either, okay? Because that'll make it easier for things to grow. We don't want that. Now, once you have your reed, I usually like to take something like a paper towel or a tissue, and I just lightly wipe it across that so that you can get the majority of the moisture off. And then if you have a reed guard like this is what the reeds usually come in. You want to put it in from the bottom up, and it'll slide right in there and you won't break the reed. Don't try to stick it in from the bottom or from the top. You're more likely to break your reed. If you have a different kind of reed guard, one that has you slide it in, make sure you put it flat on the reed guard and then slide it in. Don't try to like scoop it in because then what you'll do is you'll crack or curve the very end of the reed, and that's not going to help you either. If you need a reed guard because you don't have any of these, once again, let me know and I can have it ready for you for the instrument drive-through. Okay, so that was all about our embouchure and our reed setting and our care of our reed and our mouthpiece. I hope that you have enjoyed this little review video. Maybe you learned something along the way, and I'll see you in class. Bye.